Okay, number one, write the expression in terms of I and simplify completely. So remember that when you have a negative number under the square root, you have to write it as the square root of that number without the negative sign and then put an I outside because I is the square root of -1. And that way you can work with these numbers. We know the square root of 36 is 6, so that's 6i times square root of 9 is 3, 3i. 6 times 3 is 18. I times I is I squared. And since I is the square root of -1, I squared is -1. So that's 18 times -1, which is -18. Over here we have the square root of -63 over the square root of 7. So that is going to be the square root of 63i over the square root of 7. And remember that when you have a quotient of square roots, it's the same as the square root of the quotient. So that's the square root of 63 over 7 times I. 63 over 7 is 9, so that's the square root of 9 times I, and the square root of 9 is 3, so we have 3i. I to the 48th, you look at the power on I, and since I to the 4th is equal to 1, every time you have an I to the 4th, you're multiplying by 1. So since 4 is a factor of 48, we can write this I to the 4th to the 12th power. So you divide 48 by 4, and when you get 12, since that's a whole number, and we know that there are 12 I to the 4ths here, it's I to the 4th times I to the 4th times I to the 4th, and so on, up to 12, and I to the 4th is just 1. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, 12 times is still 1. So this is 1. Now, with this one, you've got a number that is not a multiple of 4. So if you divide 4 into 33, that goes 8 times. 8 times 4 is 32. If you subtract, you have 1 left over. So that's going to be I to the 4th times itself 8 times with another I left over. So that's I to the 4th to the 8th power times one more I. So that's I to the 32 times I to the 1st makes I to the 33 because you add exponents on like bases. So since that's just 1 times I is just I. So all you have to do when you have this kind of problem is divide the exponent by 4, and however many are left over, if there's a remainder, then that will be I raised to whatever that remainder is. And you know that I to the 1st is I squared is -1, I cubed is I to the 4th is 1. So whatever the remainder is, that's the power on I, and that would be how you would find your answer.